I have something to do with it. It's going to be messed up.
Well, I'm just gonna start a new stream, and because whatever's going on with this, or no,
No,
it's
now it's live.
okay. Now it's magically okay.
It knew you got pissed off.
Yeah, that's the thing, guys. You got to remember when technology doesn't work right, you just got to get pissed off, and then it'll
I see it
magically
now.
start working.
That's
So
that's
it looks
great.
like we got the stream. Welcome to BDTR Live. We've got Brian from 814 Pred Hunters, and they'd reached out to us earlier in the week, and they wanted to have a conversation. So welcome, Brian.
How's it going, guys?
We're doing well. We had a little bit of technical difficulty there. I don't know if we actually started exactly at 8. I actually usually like to start 5 minutes early, but the computer's just like, nope, nope. You guys, you
Yeah,
got this really good interview set up, so we're gonna throw the wrench in it before you can even get started.
yeah. I think we were a couple minutes late.
All right. Well, hopefully everybody won't hold it against us too much. So,
Yeah, hope not.
just to get started, can you how many folks are in your group? How large are you guys?
Oh, we're probably right around the 15 to 18 mark, somewhere in that area right now.
Okay.
With
And
you know,
how did you get started? Like how did you get into this, and were you one of the founding members?
yeah, I absolutely was. But how we got started is we had a guy that I called my friend,
Mhm.
um, and he decided he was going to rape a child. And I had left that man around my grandkids, my family, for a long time,
Mhm.
and had no clue. So that's how we got our. That's exactly how we got started.
Right. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is nowadays you can't trust anybody. Like you think you know somebody and enough to let them around your kids and stuff, and it's just I don't know. It's a crazy world, but that's why I think what you guys are doing is a huge service to the public, and all the DAs and everything are basically admitting that we don't have the manpower to do this and that and whatever, and it just I think we definitely need to change that law. I don't know if you've talked to any reps or anything about that, but
We
go ahead.
we actually are getting ready to start making phone calls to reps. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, a lot of people blame the police. It's absolutely not the police's fault, because it takes a lot of time to do what exposure teams do.
Hmm.
It just isn't you hop on there and you find a guy in 5 minutes and you go and catch him. It takes so much. I mean, we have some of them we have months involved in talking to,
Hmm.
just, but yeah, it definitely isn't the police's fault. They just don't have the time nor the resources in which to do what needs to be done. There used to be a lot of in a lot of departments, there used to be just people that did it, and there just isn't no more.
Right. Yeah. I know even in Blair County at one point they had a separate prosecutor for the child abuse cases, and they don't. I don't think they really do that anymore. I think they got some funding from some. It was almost like the way they did the drug cases, and they'd
Right.
have the funding from somewhere else, which it doesn't matter what you're doing. Any entity out of the government can always use more money, but it's unfortunate that they're willing to shove all this money into the drug stuff, which is a problem. I'm not so convinced the way they're handling it is the way to go about it, but definitely with the people messing with kids, I mean that's something we need to put more time and money into for sure. But fortunately, we have groups like you guys. But unfortunately, at least one judge and one prosecutor, from what I've seen, aren't too gung ho about you guys doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the unfortunate part. There's a few DAs that doesn't like what we do. They call us vigilante groups. However, we're not vigilante groups.
Hmm.
Vigilante groups, they take the law in their own hands.
Right.
They handle the situation in the way that they feel fit to handle it. That's not what we do at all.
Right.
We hand everything to law enforcement and say, here you go. This is what this individual did. He definitely, like I said, like I talked to you earlier there a little bit, we don't catch for numbers here. At 814, we don't catch the numbers, and there's a lot of other catch exposure teams that doesn't catch for numbers as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the individuals that we expose and the other catch, you know, exposure teams do, they, you know, there's plenty enough evidence there to prove easily that that individual was attempting to meet and have a sexual relationship with a child.
Right. And have you or your group, or really, I think we just need what we should do is just get a somewhat generic letter together and put it out there so everybody can email it and or you know, if you still like snail mail, you can send it through the mail, but a letter to all of our reps and senators in the state of, hey, let's amend this law and make it clear that these groups are fine and we need them to keep doing what they're doing and not be able to use, you know, say, well, the law is the issue because, you know, this wording or that wording. Because, you know, they like to stretch the law for certain things, but they won't
Oh
stretch
yeah.
it for this, you know. So
Yep.
let's just change it so it's not even an issue. And that's going to take probably a year or more. So I think the sooner we kind of kick that off, the better.
Right. Absolutely. You know, it's going to, that's the bad thing. Nothing ever happens fast in government. We all know that. Um,
Absolutely.
you know, but it's as simple as changing one word. You know, it is actual child to presumed child. That's it.
Yep.
You know, and it would cover everything else.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing people need to keep in mind is too, if they want to use this law as the excuse of why it won't work, I mean, this person or persons when they're taught, they believe that they're talking to a child. So right there,
Absolutely.
that's intent. They have the guilty mind. You know, I mean, it's when you're doing it correctly, because obviously
Right.
they're like you said, when you do it correctly, it takes an awful lot of time and there's an awful lot of evidence, and you need to be able to compile that evidence in a way that it's easy to turn it over so that the police can, because you know, process and procedure, and these people, you know, as disgusting as pedophiles aren't, as much as everybody hates them, they still have rights. So, and they still have,
Absolutely.
you know, so you have to prove that they're guilty. And in order to do that takes a lot of time and effort. And, you know, like you said, the police just don't have the resources or the time. But here you guys are willing to do it. So, and I had mentioned before, I think Jim Gregory would be a good one to reach out to because he basically campaigned on, you know, especially going after like the Catholic Church and stuff and opening it up so people could go after them. You know, that stuff's been covered up for years.
Oh
And
my, yeah.
and they did actually make some headway. So I think he would definitely be one to reach out to, even if, you know, the people that aren't in his district. I think he would be one of the ones that would be most likely to push something like this through. And really, anybody in there that votes against that, like they need to be voted out next time because this, you know, this just needs to happen.
Right. Absolutely. That's what I tell everybody. You know, at the end of the day, you know, we put these individuals in there, you know, and if they're not willing to protect our children in any way possible, you know, especially legally, in any way possible legally, you know, they need to go, you know, because there is only one statute that states it has to be an actual child or a police officer. That's it.
Right.
And they're making every other statute apply to that same rule, which it's not written that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so it's just, you know, they're using that one statute to do away with everything else.
Right. Yeah, and I want to apologize to everybody for the green screens kind of acting up. I know every time I get in here and mess with it when we start a new video. So if the video is like kind of changing colors a little weird, we're sorry. I'll have to try.
Like I told you, that's because of me. You know, anything to do with computers, if it has anything to do with me, it's messing up.
Forgive my random facial expressions as well. Our dog is sitting off in the corner making all kinds of lovely noise and distracting me. So if you see weird faces, I swear it's the dog.
So
yeah, my viewers have seen my pup a couple of times. He likes to rest on the back of my recliner when I'm trying to talk.
Aww.
yeah. So as far as you guys go, obviously you've been doing this a while. What would you say is your percentage of like when you catch somebody and turn over to the police, ratio compared to how many convictions you actually get? What would you say your percentage is of catch to conviction?
I'll be honest with you. Right now, we have 70 catches, and right now we have, three sentencings.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them they pled down to virtually nothing, a slap on the wrist.
Right.
And there was one individual in Elk County that got a pretty lengthy sentence. But other than that, it's like I said, we have quite a few that was in the legal system just waiting in Clearfield County. But since the one judge decided to do what he had done, then because for a long time we did a lot of our catches in Clearfield County.
Mm-hmm. So,
So
assuming that we could get the law modified, do you think that would go up substantially then? Is that the biggest obstacle from what you've seen, is the way they keep trying to hug on to this law?
that is the only obstacle. That's it. I mean, there is no other obstacle besides that one statute that says it must be a police officer or a actual child.
Right.
Which is unfortunate to me that they we're trying to catch these individuals before they harm a child,
Mm-hmm.
or or at the worst stop them from harming a child anymore.
Right.
So if anybody watches our videos, everybody, even the ones that's not the first time, because we find out they've been caught, multiple times before, they all say it's their first time. So you'll never know for certain unless victims come forward,
Right.
whether it was or there wasn't.
Right. So, like I said, as far as changing the law or whatever, I think another thing, because like when Pete Weeks come out and he had that interview there, one thing,
Hmm.
I'm not a big fan of him, but I did get the sense that he really does want to find a way to do these prosecutions. I think he is interested in it. I think he was being genuine about that. And
I fully agree,
yeah.
because we actually had two go through preliminary hearings in Blair County.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a lot of stuff that happened. As a lot of it, I'm not going to get into, everything that went on in Blair County, but, it seemed to really put the brakes on hard,
Right.
you know, for what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, and because that's been a thing too, because I don't know how you knew about Consiglio and all that, but one of the things he always got ragged on for is, he was in there for like 30 years, and he had originally he was the attorney that represented the Catholic Church when some shady shit was going on years ago. So he always got dogged on about,
Right.
because there were no, as far as I know, when he was in there, I mean, there were always allegations coming out. There were no prosecutions against the church, or even there were a couple that came out of BG High School. It all just kind of always went away. And that was one of the things that, I don't know if he didn't really come out and say it publicly, but through back channels, I kind of heard that Weeks was like, when I get him, we're not going to handle things like that anymore. So,
Like I said, I mean, I have not had a problem with him, you know, at all. Because like I said, we did, I do believe, 4 catches in Altoona.
mm-hmm.
And like I said, 2 of them moved through the preliminary hearings, the stages anyways. But, it just ended up, I don't know. I don't know if this just unfortunate they are hanging up on that one statute, and it's really definitely hurting every exposure team out there.
Right.
It's just there's no other way of saying it any other way, because that's the main thing. It's that's they're holding up on.
Well, and that one other thought I'd had too, and I don't know off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what the requirements are for county detectives, but I believe they can basically just be sworn in. I don't think there's any actual like educational requirements or anything for that. So I don't know if it would be possible to uh, basically swear in a couple of members from a group, and then they would meet that law enforcement requirement for the time being. I mean, obviously, the best thing to do would just change the law, but like I said, that's going to be,
Right.
probably at least a year down the road at best.
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting to pursue that. Like I said, I don't know what the requirements would be, if that could be done or whatever. If there's like they have to pay him a certain salary, if they could waive that, I'm not sure. But that would just be one possible other avenue for the time being to explore.
If we would have, if we would have that availability, the main thing is every decoy would have to be that.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts, because they're the ones, at the end of the day, the decoys, they are amazing. They're the ones, they're the ones that make, I don't want to say it, that they're the ones that make me look good, and the other guys out there talking to these individuals, exposing these individuals, they're the ones that make us look good.
Right.
I mean, because if it wasn't for the decoys, none of us would be exposing anybody.
Right.
If you would, it would be a couple here or there, if you were doing the own decoying yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be something to once again reach out to. And like I said, I think Pete might be one of the best DAs to talk about that, because he seems to be the most open to pursuing this in some way. And like I said, I think that could be there again, it might be a little unrealistic to have all the decoys go through that, because if you're having
Right.
all these people go through this, that some attorney will find some reason to throw the challenge flag out. But yeah, definitely we'll have to figure out a way to either start a petition or just, like I said, I think we can push Jim Gregory to bring something to a vote. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I can't foresee. I mean, in my mind and how I look at things, I cannot foresee one state rep or anybody that has to do with changing the laws not want these individuals caught. I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can change some things to where it's legal for everything, for every statute, for us teams to do that, that it would take so much pressure off of the police. The unfortunate part, what really it puts a lot of pressure on, is the legal system, because there is so many.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many of these individuals out there.
Yep.
It's like it's like I say, a good decoy. If one of their guys is caught, they can have a guy replaced in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's that big a problem.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, and another thing too to remember and that's the thing too, is have you guys had any issue with vetting decoys? Because obviously, you don't want to have people that have a really questionable past or anything, because they need to have credibility to be able to testify or whatever.
All of my decoys, they pass background checks, they pass child clearances. If they have anything questionable on them, they're not a decoy for A14. It's as simple as that.
Right.
I won't take that risk.
Okay. So if what's like the craziest catch you've ever had?
Craziest catch. Oh my goodness.
You got a few?
Well, I'll tell you, and there's, I can remember I'll be honest with you, it's probably our biggest catch ever. And I haven't told a lot of people about it. But it was an individual in Johnstown. And just say, he had some pretty high jobs in the government.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, and I'm not talking just state, I'm talking federal. So yeah, that's one that really, brings back memories. The craziest one, I guess. The craziest one would have been in DuBois, where the guy had his daughter in a stroller, very young child, which most of my viewers will remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
And the unfortunate part, I guess I shouldn't say the unfortunate part, he did get child endangerment charges for that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was one of the ones that the charges were, dropped because of, where it was.
Right. And
we did have one in Ohio. That was, the guy wrote the decoy's name on a place that shouldn't have been wrote. I guess that's a pretty memorable one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
I saw here in the paper there was, and this was from the 20th in the Mirror, that the headlines: felony charges against city man dropped in alleged predator case, and it mentions you guys, and it was this Donato Jimenez, I guess is his name. So he was communicating with the alleged 15-year-old girl in Lawrence Township. Many messages, da 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 da, and then of course I guess the judge just, because I'm reading this,
Yep.
and I wasn't sure did they throughout the entire case? Is there still anything?
Nope, they threw out every charge that has to do with it.
Okay.
Yep, they did. Like I said, it was all because of that one statute that they're doing it.
Yeah, because it kind of seems like at least Clearfield County is just using that as just going forward. That's the excuse to throw everything out.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know. I got caught off guard by that, I guess, because for the longest time, Clearfield County was working with us awesome.
Right.
And they were, for what we were doing, and just seemed like really quick once one judge decided, okay, what they're doing isn't right. It's everything else went to shit real quick for most of the cases.
Well, one positive thing is, even though the case was thrown out, as long as it wasn't dismissed with prejudice, which I didn't see that in there, if we would change the law in the future, should be able to refile it.
That's exactly. We just had a preliminary hearing the other day for an individual, and the charges were dropped for now. That's what they said. Mm-hmm. For now. So, I guess, and I look at it like this, and I said it on a live not all that long ago. I believe God looks out for us and what we do, and I believe He's happy about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if I have to look at it in a positive way for now, just because of some of the legal systems, I look at it like this. Those individuals, they get arrested, they go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
They get put into segregation with individuals of their own, and if they don't, these individuals are out here amongst us every single day, and thousands of people see their face.
Right.
So I guess, if there's any light at all, they will be held accountable every day
mm-hmm.
by everybody, and I guess that's one way to look at it positively till, we try and get some things working, in the right direction.
Right. Well, and the other thing is too, because that was one of the things that Weeks said whenever he did his little interview, and he said about how, well, it was really eye opening because we didn't realize how much this went on and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember back when, I don't know if it was when the Megan's Law list first came out, but the first time I saw it, and I was like, wow, you have people right down the street, right across from the school, and you wouldn't think they'd be that close, but you look around your neighborhood, and these are just the ones they've caught.
Yeah.
So how many more are out there? And that's the problem with the way the internet is now. And that's a big message, because, what you guys do trying to track these people down and, expose them for what they are is great. But parents need to realize, because I think today, especially, kids on the phones. I see really young kids with phones, and I think, holy shit, did the parents really know who they're talking to? Or because it just, even like Facebook, oh, you have to be 13 to use Facebook. How the hell do you enforce that? You
right.
can't.
Exactly. That's what I try and tell, all these parents, it just isn't us doing this on these dating sites.
Mm-hmm.
There's actual kids, they get on those dating sites and they meet adult people, because it's exciting to them. They get they get treated like an adult. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And some of those sites is insane, crazy. I mean, I'll tell you, Snapchat. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
that's a bad place to get a kid on there. I mean, I tell all the parents that I talk to, if your kid's on Snapchat, make sure you watch who they're following and stuff on there, because there's a lot of preying goes on Snapchat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure when our daughter's going to get her first phone, but it's not going to be anytime soon.
Hell
I tell you
no. No,
Yeah.
no, and that's another no. No.
Yeah, it's a good thing to try and restrict them as much as possible, because it just, there's so many different avenues in which these guys prey on these kids, and it just isn't. The unfortunate part, it just isn't on the phones, it's on the game consoles as well.
Mm-hmm.
All these different games that these kids get on play, those adults are on there, they're preying on kids on there.
Yeah.
The parents don't realize it.
Yeah. Well, and some of the kids on there, man. I mean, we do some
Oh my
gaming
goodness.
too, and you do the wrong thing in a game or something, you wouldn't believe the messages you get and stuff. It's like,
my
Yeah.
I'm going to be 35 years old this year, and I probably got like 12-year-olds messaging me, only telling me to go F myself and all this stuff. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
come on,
crazy.
man. It's just a
It's
game.
it's like these kids have lost. Some of these kids have lost all respect for adults. Period.
I
You
think
know,
I think it's also a little bit of not understanding consequence of action, because like they're just
exactly.
talking smack over the internet. Nobody ever
Yeah.
like confronts them about it. So then they decide they can act a fool in public too, which that's a
Yep.
whole nother conversation. But yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's some of the guys we've exposed. That's that's their excuse. It was just on the internet. It means nothing. But they don't realize, that just their words alone will mess up a child. And I've told many of them, they don't realize all they're doing is they're paving a road for these kids to go down.
Yep.
Granted, they might not be that individual that comes and picks them up and they never come back home, but the next guy might be.
Yep.
And all they're doing is paving a road for those kids to go down that, it's only a dead end road. It goes nowhere.
Yep. Well, and unfortunately, there are. I hope it's more of like a fringe group, but these people that have they use the phrasing the minor attracted person, to try to
Oh yeah, that
to
irritates me.
humanize the pedophiles. It's like, if you mess with kids, fuck you. That's
That's right. You're no
that's
human in my book.
yeah. There's no. I don't want to hear this sob story about this or that, because even if they have some mental issue or whatever, it's still a choice to get on the internet and talk to children like that, or try to meet
Yep.
up with children or whatever. It's still a choice. They can choose not to do it.
Absolutely, 100%. They just choose not to. They. I think it's this. They find it easy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The craziest thing is, I said for a long time, after talking to a lot of these guys, and I shouldn't say talking to them, but I read a lot of the chats. And to me, it was almost like there was a manual on how to groom a child.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this lovely lady. I hope she's listening, but I won't bring her name up right now. But somewhere here, probably October, there's going to be a lot of stuff said about her. But regardless, she brought it to my attention that there is a manual on the dark web somewhere on how to groom a child.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's disgusting.
And I just said it because they all said the same stuff. It might be a little different variation here or there, but it's always the same stuff. It's like they were taught how to do so.
Right. Well, I mean, that makes sense. And I haven't spent a whole lot of time on the dark web, but I know there's some pretty messed up stuff out there. And I'm not surprised that there would be something like that. And that's the thing is these people, they all find these little fringe groups or whatever, and then they kind of trade notes, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm not sure how you would, especially when you're dealing with the dark web and stuff. I mean, it's not quite as anonymous as everybody thinks it is for the most part, but
Right.
you're never going to control that. And I know I can't remember if it was a documentary or an interview or something, but there was a former Facebook employee that basically said all these private groups on Facebook, like they would see some horrific stuff because,
Yeah.
and Facebook they basically will allow kiddie porn to be posted in these private groups because you
As
basically,
long as it's the private groups. Yep.
yes, and it's basically invitation only. So the only people that are in there are the people that want to see that, and Facebook will let it go because those people are using the site. They're generating ad revenue. So Facebook's like, well, we'll just ignore it because we're making money off of it. So we'll just leave them alone because nobody really knows about this except the people that are doing it.
Yep.
So but that's the problem is these, corporations, they don't give a shit about kids.
No, they might say they do, but they don't. They don't give two shits about anything that goes on. As long as they can hide it, they don't care.
Well, and it's not just the like sexual exploitation or anything. Like you look at the mental illness and stuff that it's causing these kids because they have this constant stimulation. They live to get likes on their, they live on their phone and they need that dopamine hit, and it's really messing with them. And I hate to see because I mean my generation, the internet was in its infancy. We didn't have a computer, I think, until I was 6 or 7 years old. So I didn't even know what the internet was when I was the age of some of these kids that have their own cell phone now. And we still played outside sometimes, but it's really different growing up back then where you kind of grew into this and what it is now. And now these kids, they don't know a world without, instant gratification and things like that.
Exactly. I'm not going to give away how old I am, but I'll tell you what, my first cell phone, it was a bag phone. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that right now, and it's crazy for me to look back and see just where things have went. It's back in those days, you didn't have what, the kids have now. They actually went out and they made their own games, they played with stuff outside,
yep.
And it made for a much better individual in my book, you know what I'm saying? But it's just crazy, the access in which the internet has given these predators. It's just crazy.
Well, that's the problem. So it gives them easy access, but then you have these kids that are so addicted to the internet. They need the likes, they need the attention. It's almost like the internet's grooming them and making them easy targets because these people are going to give them attention, tell them what they want to hear. And then they're going to be, anywhere from an 8 to 18-year-old kid, is, oh, this is their friend online, so why wouldn't they go meet up with them?
Right. Yeah.
And obviously the parents would see a red flag there, hopefully, but what if the parents don't know about it? And honestly, even if you're the best parent in the world, always keeping tabs on your kids, kids are good. I was young once. Kids are good at hiding shit, And
they're even better nowadays.
Yep. And because it's easier than ever,
Yep.
You can have it. If you're not allowed to have a Facebook profile, what's to say you just make one and make sure your parents don't find out about it,
Right. Then they make these crazy, I don't even know what they call them, like privacy lockers that look like different apps on your phone that you can hide stuff in. Mm-hmm. I never even knew about that until not that long ago. But, it's easy for them to hide the stuff.
Yep. That's the problem with, the internet is a wonderful thing. The fact that the amount of information that's out there for free, basically, it can be a great thing, but it can be a horrible thing too, because there's a lot of horrible things out there. And like you said, it's enabled the predators a lot more than they, back in the days where they had to meet the kids out in public. That was
right.
That was a little different. And that's the problem is they can on the internet they can create a persona. They can pretend to be a kid and lure these
Oh,
kids in. So it's
yep.
just it's a go ahead.
I'll be honest with you. Unfortunately, I like I said, I read almost every chat logs of different individuals that we have exposed. I'll be honest with you. I don't think there's one that's actually acted like a child just to start talking to us. They came to that child as an adult, and it wasn't. It was like it wasn't a problem.
That's pretty bold, but apparently they think they can get away with it. So
Yeah, yeah. For the most part, there's lots of guys, and I shouldn't say only guys. We talk to a lot of girls too. That there's no way in the world that we'll ever catch them, just because I won't do illegal stuff to find out anything about them. There's illegal avenues in which to find somebody.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I just won't. They'll use the text now numbers and stuff like that. They'll use burner phones. You can't track.
Right.
So there's a lot of them out there very careful in what they do.
Right.
And
well, so one thing I did want to ask you too, because I know there has been a little bit of blowback from some people, and I think it's because the way certain groups conduct themselves. But basically, the argument is, you guys are a bunch of vigilantes, and eventually somebody's gonna get hurt because of this. What is your thoughts or your response to that? What would that be?
I think we'd already talked about the whole vigilante thing a little bit ago. We're definitely not vigilantes, and we all know the risks in what we do. Yes, there's always going to be that risk that somebody could do something. And I don't think there's any way to do what we do and do it any safer.
Right.
If you follow what I'm saying.
Right.
There's always that there's a chance of going out and getting in your car and going a half mile down the road and getting a wreck as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Life is dangerous.
You're right. I look at it like this. I'm willing, as is all of my team, willing to take that risk if it's just to save one kid.
Right.
And that's I guess how we look at it. Yes, it's not safe, and I don't advise anybody to do it.
Right.
Because it definitely and any decoys ever came to us, they'll tell you if you ever talk to them. I tell them it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes a special person in which to especially decoy. But even going, expose these individuals, there's that risk there. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, we do it the safest way we can do it. Everybody is, as much as we can, we know what their background is. And, we go in there planning, I guess you could say planning for the worst. So we're ready for it if it does happen.
Right. So do you have any, without, I guess, giving away too many secrets or anything, when you meet up with people, do you make sure it's always a public place? Would you have
Not always.
So you would go to private residence? You have done that?
I have done that. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I guess you just have to play it by ear, because depending on the person, I'm sure there's, obviously if this person's talking to a child, they might be completely turned off by the idea of meeting them in a public place,
And some are, those are the ones we catch at home, but there's some, it doesn't matter if they can meet a pub, figure out a public place in which to meet that kid and just walk away with them.
Right.
We just had one not all that long ago come from Tennessee to Punxsutawney, and he came there to pick up a 15-year-old girl and take her back to Tennessee with him.
Wow.
And she was never coming back.
Yep.
And the unfortunate part is, I mean, it could have. I don't know where it could have went, because there was things found in his motel room that could have suggested things could have went differently. I don't know. But that's also another case that's being in the legal system right now. But so I can't get too much into that. But yeah, I mean, it could have been way worse than what we're even expecting it to have been. You know what I'm saying? If it had been an actual child.
Right. Yeah. So, is there anything else you wanted to add? I think we've pretty much covered everything I planned on bringing up.
Yeah, I think, I just really want the parents to be aware of what their kids are doing. I mean, because, monitor every aspect of their internet stuff, as simple as Facebook. Because like we had talked about, Facebook's a terrible place as well.
Yep.
But yeah, it's so vast now that you gotta be very vigilant on watching these adults preying on your kids. But
all right, well,
yeah, that's good.
We wanna, I guess we can wrap it up here. I'm gonna try and take some calls, see if anybody wants to call in. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, shoot.
So we haven't done this yet. So
nope, I'm game. Let's have some people call in.
But we'll have the only thing is I won't be able to do it with you on the line because I only have the one.
Oh, you won't?
One line to use. Yeah.
Well then.
So, but I mean, you can listen on the live stream and see if maybe we'll get somebody interesting to call in.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Thanks for being on, Brian. I think we had a pretty good interview tonight, and we overcame the technical difficulties. So that's even
it was
better.
Only a couple minutes. It was only a couple minutes. We're good.
Yeah. I still don't actually know exactly when it. Actually, I think we got a call coming in now.
Looks like it.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, Brian.
All right, Charlie.
We'll talk to you later.
All right, bud. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, welcome to BDTR Podcast Live. Can I get your name?
Thank you.
Woo.
I've been watching your podcast on the internet involving some groups and stuff. I think what's going on here is everybody is misconstruing what they're trying to do and what they're trying to say to do to make things right. But I got some good general ideas that could possibly help within the light of the pred hunter groups known as like ones from Altoona, the ones from Clearfield, Erie County, Pennsylvania. There's some down in the eastern areas, Bucks County, Philadelphia area.
Oh yeah, they're all over. It's, I guess recently it's just after that judge's ruling is when some of the issues came with prosecutions for most of them.
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, I'm for that, but you also got to understand too. There's, the thing called the land of the law. The laws are in place for protection for everybody, just not a certain individual.
Right, absolutely.
But I do think that, with kids and how kids behave and what goes on today, like, I mean, I even myself, I'm going through some things because I got 2 children, I got 2 girls. And I'm in a court battle, child support battle with the one mother. She she just can't understand, like, give you for instance here. like, she wants me out of their lives, but they want my money.
Right.
Okay. And, you know, me and her mother would get into an argument, and then like 5-10 minutes later, like, my 13, 14-year-old daughter is calling me and just saying, why the fuck can't you leave us alone?
Right.
Excuse me, little girl. Excuse me, little girl. I said, first off, I said, your sister does not talk to me like that. And I said, you are not going to talk to me like that. And I said, you keep up, I'll come right in there and I'll bust you in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know, that's one thing, you know, but I think, and, you know, over the generations and, you know, over a period of time, you know, going back from the way things were to the way what they are now, I think that a lot of this can be blamed on the way that the rules are in the engagement of raising your child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that the child has lost respect for the parent because you can't correct your child like you used to.
Right. All right. We got. I don't want to cut you short here. We got some other callers we want to try to get to.
Okay, but you know, my instance as is, you know, as far as what they're doing, I'm for what they're doing, but follow the guidelines of the law.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I don't know if any of them.
Hey, BDTR podcast. You're on. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm with the West Central PA Pet Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to let everybody know that there is a new app out there. It is called Perp. It is like Tinder for children. When kids are posting their locations and how old they are and the pictures, you swipe lots of inappropriate photos as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is coming from one of my followers, so I'm just trying to spread it for the parents out there.
And can you say what it's called again a little more clearly so we can hear you better? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're still working on this. The phone quality is not the best. We're trying to figure out how to like sort the incoming calls too. But yeah, if you could give the name of that app again so people know.
It's called Perp. It's kind of like Tinder for children. One of my followers had posted it, and I shared it. So I'm just trying to make it aware for the parents out there. So if, you know, the parents see something strange
Mm-hmm.
going on, they can go through their phones and whatnot. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that.
Well, thank you.
All right.
That's really good information to share because I haven't heard about that yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of our other listeners haven't either. So
Absolutely.
it gives them a heads up to look for it. So thank you. That is
All right.
really great to share.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye. All right, so obviously we're still working out the kinks with the phone system here. Apologize to the guy that got cut off there. I hit the wrong button. I was trying to hit the hold button. So what we'll do is if you call in and it's busy, I'll try and call you back. Let me see. Let's look through I don't think we missed anybody yet. Okay, so what I'll do is when we're on the phone, I'll pull the number off. And then anytime we got the call in now, we got another one. When the call in now is up here, go ahead and call in. If it's not there, wait till it's up and we'll try and get everybody here. Hey, BDTR podcast, we're live. What's on your mind tonight? Hello, are you there? Can't hear him.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay. I was just calling in. There was a guy out of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
He was sentenced 30 to 105 years for kidnapping a friend of mine's sister, 13-year-old sister, here in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I think that all judges, no matter whether it was a kidnapping, sexual assault, is what he got charged with. If you look up his name, he's Andrew Howland, Howland.
Okay.
If the judges, the prosecutors would see things like that, and not so much just about the kidnapping, but sexual assault in any way, I think there would be a lot of them that would reconsider of trying to get children, for sexual advances.
Mm-hmm.
It just upsets me that I see so many children are being, abused by men like this. Not just men, but women as well.
Right. Yeah. And that was one of the critiques I guess I've seen of the Pred Hunter groups is, oh, they never go after women. They never go after women. But Brian says they have, at least 814 has. So, and there are women predators, but generally for the most part, it usually is a man. Usually the women are like the school teachers and shit, which I don't know how closely you follow Blair County, but I know Holly Metzler, who I think she was like Sexton kid. She was a teacher at Altoona High School. Her case is still like backed up in the system. There's been no resolution of that. So it's, I don't know. The problem is, the system's never going to solve anything. And Brian is absolutely right when he's telling people, that parents need to be aware of what their kids are doing, because that's the first line of defense. And that's the easiest way to prevent this stuff. Obviously that's not, you're not going to prevent 100% of these predators getting to your kids because they're good at what they do. But I think these, groups like Brian's are very important, and they're doing a public service. And, hopefully the system, like I said, the big thing is we're just going to have to change that law. We're just going to have to get that law changed. And then I think it'll be easier for these groups to operate. And because when they don't have the excuse of, the law is kind of wishy-washy and we'll just throw this out, whatever. Because you don't want to put the work in that they do, and then the case just gets tossed. That's wasting everybody's time, and then they're still out there. And now they've probably learned from that, so it'll be even harder to catch them the next time.
That's true. Really true.
So,
it's like my friend's sister.
Yep. So, all right. Well, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, guys. The audio is so weird on that. It's like sometimes it comes in loud and clear, and sometimes you got to turn the thing up the whole way. And if you get it wrong, you can't hear them. If you get it wrong and it's loud, it like pops your eardrums out. So
you see me jump nearly out of my skin and onto the floor.
That's yeah. I mean, I'm using the. If you guys remember Magic Jack, I used to have one you plugged in the computer. Now there's just an app for the phone, and my actual phone that I use day to day, it really doesn't like when I plug it into the mixer. The mixer, the volume is terrible. So I was using my old phone, which works great with Messenger and other stuff, but you can't call into it because it's not active. I just run it off of Wi-Fi. So we're using the Magic Jack app basically. I don't know. From what I can hear, the sound doesn't seem to be terrible. If anybody's in the comments wants to chime in, what you think. But yeah, I think that was a pretty interesting interview with Brian. It's 5 till 9, so we'll probably, if anybody else wants to call in, we'll give it another minute here. If not, we'll probably wrap it up. But
another big thing I think to take away is like there does need to be change, and I think that the more people that realize that, the more people start to act on it in the ways that we can, such as write a letter to your state rep, to the attorney general, make your voice be heard. I mean, if you want change, we have to start somewhere, so speak up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got a lot of letters to write, but I think what I will do is, because I've seen a lot of the like pro Second Amendment groups and stuff, they basically have a generic letter that you can, and I prefer everybody, modify it a little bit, put it in your own words, but just something to, so everybody can send it out and really get the point across of, hey, we want this law changed because, and like I said, it's probably going to be a year or more to be able to, before it gets voted on. And usually, like say it was voted on tomorrow, it probably wouldn't go into effect until the beginning of next year anyway. So it's just, the sooner the better. I will start working on that. We'll put it out on the pages, and I'm sure Brian and his organization will distribute it too. So we'll see what we can get done with that. Like I said, if I don't know, maybe Jim Gregory's watching. If you're watching, Jim, don't wait for us. Just introduce the legislation. All right, you got all your office workers to write it up for you and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, I think we're just going to wrap it up for tonight. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Once again, I want to thank Brian for being on. Thank everybody who called in tonight. I know the call thing we're still working out the kinks. Maybe we can come up with a better way to do it. We'll see how it goes. But until next time, we will see you guys Wednesday night. Actually, yes, Wednesday night. Definitely tune in. We're going to have Phyllis Sapar. I think that's how you pronounce her name. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry, Phyllis. But yeah, she's the mother of John Stiver, and Wednesday is the 5th anniversary since the shooting took place in the church parking lot where he shot the CI. She has a lot of information that I think a lot of people haven't heard because I know it wasn't in the paper. You guys definitely won't want to miss that one. So we will see you Wednesday night at 8. So till next time.